Welcome everyone. Today we'll be assembling our brilliant L-train with V-brakes.
Before we get started, it's important to know that we always recommend that your bicycle be professionally assembled. Or if you choose to follow this video and do home assembly, we recommend that a professional bicycle mechanic safety check your bicycle before riding. Now let's get started.
Before we get started, we'll want to take a photo of this label over here on the side of the box. On here you'll see the full description of your bike, the model, the size, the color, what type of gearing it uses, and of course your serial number. We'll want to take a photo of that and save it in case you have any warranty issues. Now let's grab a box cutter or a pair of scissors to open up your box. Inside the box you'll of course see your bike and a small parts box. Using your box cutter or scissors, let's open up the small parts box. So in here we'll see our rear reflector, our pedals, some tools that will help us assemble the bike, and some manuals, some touch-up paint, and just a few more manuals here. It's important to stop what we're doing now to review these manuals before assembling the bicycle. Now let's continue to remove the packaging off the bike. So we're going to use our small parts box as a small stand here for the bike. We're just going to remove these little tabs, then pick up the front end of the bike to remove this foam packing material, and then we're going to remove this small plastic block. And then stick the fork through the holes, and that'll help support the bike while we're working on it. To remove the front wheel off of the bike, you notice that the crank is going through the front wheel here. So to remove this, we're just going to rotate the wheel towards the handlebars a little bit, and then try to fish it out like so. You can also pick up the bike and then move the crank arm backwards to get it out. After removing all the packing material from the bike, you'll notice that your stem and your fork are facing backwards. To fix this, pick up the front end of the bike and rotate the handlebars clockwise so that the stem is facing forward, like so. Then, using our 4mm Allen key, we're going to remove the stem faceplate. With the stem facing forward and the faceplate now removed, let's grab our handlebar and install it onto the stem. When doing this, make sure that the housing of the rear brake cable is running on the left side of the stem, like so. If you have it running like this, then it is incorrect. Simply remove the handlebar forward, grab the housing, and then fish it to the left side. Hold the handlebar to the stem with one hand, grab your faceplate and one bolt to begin to tighten this on. No need to lock these down quite yet, as we'll do this at the end of our assembly. Now I got my stem faceplate snug on the handlebar. I can still move this around and play with it, which is what I want for now. And I'll do the final adjustment once I have that front wheel on the bike. So this is what the front end of your bike should look when everything is routed properly. We have our stem facing forward, handlebars swooping upward. We have the shifter on the right side with one rear brake, and then with one brake on the left side for the front. And your brake caliper should also be on the front end of the fork. Now let's install your seat and your seat post. Inside your frame, you will notice a little bit of grease, but if you have some extra grease, it's always a good idea to put it on the post. I'm not going to put too much grease here, just a little bit at the bottom. As I slide the seat post into the frame, that grease will slide upward. Now let's slide our seat post into the frame using our 5mm Allen key. During the assemblies, I like to tighten it down to the minimum insertion. You'll see some engravings here saying minimum insertion. And we're just going to install it onto the frame and then lock it down right here. Now let's get ready to install the front wheel onto the bike. Let's make sure we remove this plastic cover first. So let's make sure that we have the wheel facing in the right direction. We can do this of one of three ways. On the sidewall of the tire, you should see something that says rotation with an arrow. We want that arrow to be facing forward or turning clockwise. Another way we can do this is by simply putting the front wheel to the back wheel and matching the direction of the tread, so they're both facing the same way. And third, we can look at the tread of our tire, and you can see how the tread is slightly angled, making an arrow, and that should be pointing forward. Let's loosen the axle nuts on the wheel. And you'll see that there's a washer here as well, so we're just going to bring that off to the side, and we'll do the same on the opposite side. Just put this down for now. We're going to grab the stem and the handlebar of the bike. We're going to pull this upward to take it off of the box, like so. Let's place this down for a moment so we can release the front brake. To release the V-brake, we'll want to squeeze these two arms with one hand, and using my index finger, I'm just going to put it underneath this piece here. And then with my other hand, I'm going to grab this silver part here called the noodle and just fish it out like so. Now let's grab the stem and handlebar of the bike again and our front wheel so that we can install the wheel onto the fork. With the wheel on the fork, we're going to first hand tighten the axle nuts, and then using your 15mm wrench, we're going to tighten them down. And while doing this, we want to make sure that our hand is on the stem and the handlebar, pushing downward, and that'll make sure that the wheel is properly in the dropout. You want to do this until the tool leaves an impression on your hand. Now we can get the bike on the kickstand to support itself. Now let's reconnect our V-brake caliper. Again, we're going to grab these two posts here with one finger underneath this bar here. And then we're going to grab the noodle with our other hand, and we're going to fish the cable in first and then slide that over the noodle so it looks like this. When we're done, we're going to grab this dust cover and then slide it over like so. When installing your pedals, do make sure that you're putting the right one on the right side and the left one on the left side. Your pedals should have come with two stickers on there, so R for right and L for left. However, if they're not there, you should also see them stamped over here on the face of the thread. And also, if you look on the side where the tool interface is, one will be flat or smooth, and the other one will have these grooves here. The flat one is for the right, and the grooved one is for the left. Let's start with our right pedal. Again, if we've got some grease, let's apply that to the threads of the pedal. Then, using our 15mm wrench, we're going to install it onto our crank. When doing so, for the right side, we want to make sure that we're turning the pedal to the right or clockwise. When we're done installing the pedal, we'll just want to make sure that it's nice and tight by holding the back wheel, and with our wrench on the pedal, we're going to push away from each other, like so. Now let's install our left pedal. This one will be turning counterclockwise to tighten onto the crank. And again, to crank down the left pedal, we're going to hold on to the rear wheel and our wrench, and we're going to push away from each other, like so. Now that we have the bike pretty much assembled, we're going to go through all the bolts that we just touched and a few other ones to make sure everything's nice and tight. Let's start with the rear wheel. Using our 15mm wrench, we're going to make sure that both the left and the right side axle nut are nice and tight. Let's do the same for the front wheel on both the left and right side. For the seat and Seatpost, we can now loosen this bolt here and lower the seat to our desired height. And then we'll tighten that down using our 5mm Allen key. If you want to learn how to adjust the angle of your saddle, click in the link in the description below. While we're here, we're going to install our reflector using a Phillips head screwdriver. Let's go around here, and we want to get this as high as possible, making sure that the reflector is facing straight back. For the stem, we'll want to check two things. One, if the stem is straight with the front wheel, and if the handlebars are in your desired position. You can do this by using a 5mm Allen key on the side here to straighten out the stem. Then make sure that they are tightened down to the proper torque or until the tool leaves an impression in your hand. For more information on how to adjust your stem and your handlebars, click on the link in the description below. While we're here, we can now set up the reflector. Using a Phillips head screwdriver, we're going to loosen this bolt and then move it as close as we can towards the stem, making sure that the reflector is facing forward. Thanks for joining me in assembling the brilliant L-chain with V-brakes. Before riding, we highly recommend getting the bike checked by a professional mechanic. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Our information is at the bottom of the screen.